Namaste. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our Ankara Thursday night program. With all my heart, with all my love, I welcome you to our program this evening. Thank you for joining us and gathering together, especially during these times, but at all times, throughout all history, being able to gather together and do these kinds of profound practices. Practices that really orient our attention, our awareness, our hearts, our devotions towards the highest, the most sublime, the most profound meaning of life. So often, we go days, weeks, however long, without necessarily encountering that. So to be able to come together in this kind of gathering, though we seem to be in various parts of the world, this field of consciousness. Well, there's just one field of consciousness. And we are, each and every one of us, emanations of that. We truly are one in that consciousness. To know that, we do the practices. And in order to not only just relieve our own suffering that comes out of not knowing the fullness of the truth of who we are, not being able to see through the many layers of deluded ideas that are pervading the world right now, we suffer. And so cutting through that, the meditative practices, the meditative paradigm, coming to understand the fullness of being, that's what sets us free, because it brings us home to the truth of who we are. And we're not just doing that solely for ourselves, as if, so fine, I get free. And then what happens to everybody else? So our practices are really and truly dedicated to the relief of suffering of all beings. And this is really a time where our knowledge base, even real life knowledge base of science, it supports the understanding of how completely integrated and unified we are in this system of ecology, this system of life, and that if we're creating conditions that cause the suffering of others, that also rebounds on us. So there's all these different layers, from very practical ones to the most exalted, the most sublime, to know the boundless unity of our infinite nature. Because that's the real aim of meditative practices, is to take us beyond the confines of the ordinary ego mind, so we get to know the fullness of being, and know that's what we call divine. That's what we can call the God within, Buddha within, pure consciousness. All labels, terms, different traditions, pointing at the same thing, but pointing. Because those words can never hold, they can never capture the truth of what that is. To know the truth, we have to refine this instrument. Because the mind is an instrument for knowing not only particulars, not only what it is to be an individual, to have suffer in some ways, be happy and have pleasures in other ways, but to look beyond that entire field, which for most people is their entire reality, their entire lives. But mystics keep going beyond and keep reporting back. Hey, humanity, you're only in touch with, 1/10% of what you are, of who you are, the fullness of being that can be known here and now and then lived into this world. And so when we approach the practices and understand the sublime nature, the sacred nature, the magnificent nature, which is a reflection of those qualities of our own highest being nature. So the practices that we're doing, we want to be able to also realize, these are extraordinary practices. Meditation, looking beyond the mind, looking to know, who am I beyond what society has told me, what psychology tells me, all the different ways that we're told, you're just this individual, you're limited in this way, You're just a man, you're just a woman, you're just a husband, you're just a wife, you're a spouse, you're this role, that role. All those limiting factors that we identify with that create the prison for our consciousness, that we are then stuck in and experience the suffering that comes from being bound in that. But most of the world says, well, that's not bondage. That's the truth of what you are. That's why we look to the great mystics of all the different traditions, because they didn't accept that. They didn't accept the confines of the ordinary mind. They didn't accept the confines of all the conditioning that all the various layers of our culture, our economic systems, our political systems, our religious systems, our family systems, these are just layer upon layer upon layer of conditioning that reduces the experience of who we are, the view of who we are, and even what we might seek to know, right? Because it's saying it doesn't even exist. Fortunately, over and over and over, across the great spiritual traditions, the mystics break out of that. And they keep reporting back. To this day, we can have these mystic experience of profound transcendence, of profound unity, knowing in a way that the mind can't get. It's not conceptually born. The direct experience of who we are as all that is, as all beings, as all consciousness. That's what we are innately capable of. Innately capable of. Right here, right now, we have that capacity. Right here, right now, that state of knowing, that state of sublime unity consciousness that embraces all in this loving, compassionate heart of the infinite, that's fully unfolded here and now, right? So the mystics of various traditions look at what obscures our direct perception of that here and now. Because it's clearly, once one enters that, once one begins having the experience of that, once one gets the true sublime fruits of meditation, meditation as a state, a unitive state of consciousness. So we're not talking about even what's becoming conditioned for people to think of, oh, meditation is relaxation. Oh, we do that for stress management. We do that for, better focus. We do that to, just calm anxiety. That's not what yogis were talking about. That's not what Buddhas were talking about. That's not what the great mystics of the Christian tradition, the Sufis, are talking about. They're talking about going beyond the mind. That's what, we're capable of, and that meditative practices aren't here to just further soothe the ego mind. So when the ego mind sort of co-opts meditation, it diminishes it. Because the ego mind is an ordinary mind. It makes things ordinary. It says, I got good use for that. It'll help me go to sleep at night. It'll help me be more relaxed. Not that those are bad. They're just side effects. And if we think that's all the practice is about, then that's where our attention goes. That's where our focus goes. And it stays within the limits of little I awareness, little me. So when we enter into a practice like what we are doing tonight, and it's done in so many different places, and temples and gompas and ashrams around the world that are really holding the boundless nature of the truth of who we are, and the sublime and powerful nature of what meditative practices are, then we can come to know what's beyond the mind. Then we can come to know, what's that state that, across traditions, takes us to a state that's beyond suffering, beyond the limitations of mind that create that suffering, the limitations of body that are associated with that suffering. To know that, we do these kinds of practices. And to know that, we also dedicate them to the removal of suffering of all beings, right? That is both a practice and the end state. The selflessness of practice. Because the ordinary mind keeps going, oh, this would be nice, I could feel better. And then it's just looking out for me. Just a little I, me, mine. I'll do this practice, I'll get free. I don't know what'll happen to everybody else, but I'm good. No, that's not it. That's still a contracted state. That's still the little mind trying to grasp, trying to cling, trying to own for itself, and even only itself. That's also what we're putting aside, so that our practices, not only do they set this vehicle free, they set all beings free. We have that exalted intention of selflessness, that even as we sit to do a practice, for which we will get the immediate benefits from, as well as long-term benefits from, we're dedicating that to the removal of suffering of all beings, that we want to come to a state where the fullness of that knowing is like the Buddha, who set tens of thousands of millions of beings free. That these great beings from, what in the Hindu tradition they honor as avatars, embodiments of that highest nature. Christ, Buddha, Lao Tzu, that these sublime ways of seeing and understanding can set us all free. And we engage in that practice. Again, selflessness in practice is an aspect of selfless practice, like karma yoga. How do we get free of that soul identification with this little limited mind? Now, a group has been a part of this course that we have going on the Shiva Sutras. And the Shiva Sutras is a sublime text that talks about this innate capacity of consciousness. It's called Shakti in that tradition. Shakti means power. But the power of consciousness, the unbounded, infinite power of consciousness, actually inconceivable, unknowable by mind. The mind hears, oh, infinite, yeah, boundless power. It thinks because it gets the words, it gets what that is. It doesn't. It can't. It's ungraspable. But that power of consciousness, Shakti, is what takes all these forms, creates all these forms, creates forms that can know limited consciousness. That's what we inhabit until we regain the direct experience of our infinitude of being. We're caught in this aspect, this component of creation that Shakti has created. And sometimes it's also, when we talk about it as the mind, Chit Shakti, the power of consciousness that also takes limited form as a mind, as though it were a ray of that infinite radiance that is consciousness itself. And we become identified with this little ray, this little aspect of it. But the infinitude isn't diminished, isn't lost. We just have a blinder on. And one of the great ways that the Shaivite tradition says, yeah, that's Shakti too. The veil of not knowing, that veil, that's a creation of Shakti. So the power of this infinite consciousness has the power to create all that is, sustain that creation, dissolve it, destroy it, right? It also has the power to conceal its infinitude of being that is all that is manifest. And then it also has the power to reveal it. So that power of concealment, we are the outcome of that. Our limited sense of being, our limited sense of self, is the outcome of Shakti, creating that. That's why it takes Shakti to dissolve it. The mind can't dissolve that. It can do certain practices to get rid of certain binding thought forms, but the ultimate removal of that veil, that's given to us by our own self. That's why in the ancient Upanishads, the self reveals the self to itself. That's the unfolding of the sublime consciousness. Now it has a much more practical level than this really exalted view that you might be going, what? is he talking about? But we can see in, right here and right now, if we are sort of looking through the eyes of that sublime consciousness, what does it see? It sees itself. Oh, but it sees itself playing as form, that the energy of consciousness takes on all the different forms. All the forms that we identify with, forms that we like, forms that we don't like, even our feeling reactions. Those are all forms of Shakti. So in the meditative path, part of what we're practicing and inviting the mind to do is, rather than keep getting caught up in identification with an idea, rejection of an idea, chasing after something that's going on in the mind because it seems so pleasant, running away from it because it seems scary or unpleasant, we start to look at it as, oh, no, these are all just the dance of Shakti. This is just the dance of energy. It's amazing that it's in the physical world, the physical sciences, physics itself. You know, Einstein, well, he was the one who really gave voice to that discovery that, oh, all there is energy. There's actually no solid form. If you try to find one essential, unbreakable, even minutest particle, it doesn't exist. It's all energy. Now, it was his brilliant protege, Sir David Bohm, quantum physicist, who made the next step that brings us back, right into the heart of Shaivism. He said, not only is everything energy, that energy is conscious. It's consciousness. Oh, now we're right here in Shiva Sutras, because that's what it's talking about. This energy, they call it Shakti. It's what creates all the forms, every form. That's all there is. You can't find any substance, any particle, anything that has its essential existence as some discrete entity that's eternally lasting. There's nothing there. This is what the mystics have been talking about forever. It's what Buddha was talking about when he talked about dependent origination. That everything that arises is this coming out of what he would call Rigpa, this universal field of luminous awareness that plays as form, but it's only energy playing as form. There's no essential nature to it. It has no lasting quality. Not you nor I, not any physical anything, nothing has any eternal lasting quality. That's what's meant by that emptiness. It's empty of that essential, eternal, lasting quality. It's all, everything we perceive, and everything that has unfolded across the billions of years of the history of the universe has been this play of the unfolding of consciousness. In the Shaivite tradition, it's literally called the play. Chit Shakti Vilas, the play of consciousness, is the world, the universe, all that we experience is that. That's what's used to help inform our practice. When we sit to meditate, when we're trying to get free of being solely identified with the mind and its content, giving it a reality it doesn't have. We're practicing saying, that's just energy arising and subsiding. That's just the play of consciousness. That's just a thought form. Now, if I don't get involved in the content, the forms just keep going by. It's a continuous stream. The mind is a continuous stream of Shakti taking on forms. We can call some of those forms feelings, memories, sensations, fantasies about the future, fantasies about the past, all just forms. When we step back from the content and just start to look at the forms, it's like when we look at the clouds scudding by in the sky, we can get involved and go, that one looks like a goose, that one looks like an elephant. That's getting involved with the projection of fantasies about the forms of clouds. But we don't get bound by them, because that's just a play. We just step back and go, oh yeah, but they're just clouds. And then I can just watch cloud after cloud go by. It's like when we sit at the ocean and we just watch the waves come in and go out. We're just watching. It's just this continuous sequence of wave after wave arising and subsiding. So we use that same sort of view, that same sort of attitude in meditation to step back and just go, oh, I'm just going to be the seer. I'm just going to watch. Right? I'm just going to watch this play of what's unfolding here. And in a limited form, because we're still in the mind, we're inviting ourselves to detach from the mind, to reclaim ourselves as the consciousness that just watches, the seer that's never seen. Well, that's what's meant by, in the Shaivite tradition, Shiva, the auspicious one. That's all it means. Shiva and Shakti are inseparable. It's one aspect of consciousness that is watching, unmoved by all the movements of its own playful energy. We're invited in meditative practice to come into that level of knowing, where no matter what is arising, we're seeing it both as our own self and as a play of our own power of creation, sustaining, dissolving, concealing, revealing. That's all that's happening all the time. When we start to step back and watch from that view, we're getting detached from the identification with mind and body that causes suffering. So the mystics across traditions see that it's that identification with all these different forms that binds us and creates suffering. When we've stepped back and reclaimed the infinitude of being, then we're in a state of unshakable freedom. That's why when Buddha talked about what's that field of luminous awareness consciousness, what could you even try to point to as qualities of that? They talked about the four immeasurables, the boundless loving compassion, the boundless wisdom. It's all-knowing. It knows everything because everything is itself. The rapturous joy, because there's a fullness. There's nothing lacking. There's not even a sense that anything could lack. There's no concepts here. It's just the fullness of absolute rapturous being. And then this unshakable equanimity. It's unshakable. What could disturb it? There's nothing outside of it. There's nothing it's lacking, it's wanting, it's needing. Think of all the things that disturb the mind. In the heart of your being, the truth of your infinitude of being, none of those exist. That's why Buddha talked about going into that state to know absolute freedom from suffering. Because it rests in that state. The state of the body, well, the body has suffering. That's the nature of the body. The mind has suffering. That's the nature of mind. But when we're informed by the infinitude of being, the suffering of mind and body take their rightful size. If we're solely identified with the mind, then if it's suffering, our entire view of existence is tainted by that suffering. If we're solely identified with the body, whatever it's suffering fills our experience. When we start to know and have that direct experience of the fullness of who we are, then it doesn't matter, in that sense, what's happening, body and mind. That is unshakable. And in time, it can infuse mind and body with greater capacity to be able to bear what it has to bear. And I've told stories before, but just coming to mind now. At times, my body had many different difficulties. For a while, it was going through a whole phase of creating all kinds of kidney stones. I was hospitalized, emergency room, furious pain the body would be in. And there was times where that door was just wide open, and simultaneously, there was this rapturous sense of pure being that kind of held the poor suffering body. The body still suffered, but the infinitude of being, that changes your entire perspective. So we still skillfully deal with taking care of the body, taking care of the mind. But when we have this enlarged sense, the full sense of what's our nature beyond that, then we're empowered to deal with the suffering of our mind and body, the suffering in the world, the suffering of the mind and body of all beings, because all beings are our own self. They're our own self. So it naturally arises. What Buddha called the natural arising of bodhicitta, this boundless compassion. We just want to see all beings free of suffering. We want to endeavor to be empowered through practice, to be in a state where we can relieve more and more suffering. That informs our practice. And one of the practices that comes out of this sublime state of knowing, that again the Shiva Sutras talk about, is mantra. Because mantra is a throb of our infinite being that takes form and enters the domain of our ordinary consciousness. But it's not mind-born. So if we can enter the Shakti of mantra, the Shakti that is fully unfolded, the Shakti that is that power of revelation, the power that undoes the power of concealment. Every time we take refuge in mantra, refuge means, we become absorbed in it. We become identified with that. It's, this is the throb of the truth of who I am, my infinitude of being. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Kali Ma, Om Mani Padme Hum. This is what comes through. But we have to hold that understanding, because the ordinary mind is empowered. It's empowered to make things ordinary, to discount them. It's just another set of sounds, another set of words. And then that's all it experiences. Bravo, mind. You cut yourself off. Because it's the attitude, the bhav, that we approach practice, that we approach mantra with, that reveals the truth of what mantra is, that we're using our mind to search for the direct knowing of that. And we haven't shut the door to it because we've just dismissed it as something paltry, something lacking, like the rest of the mind, lacking. It projects it onto everything. So in the Shiva Sutras, it talks about how the Shakti, this Chit Shakti, the Shakti of consciousness, of mind, it creates bondage by what it's called the matrika shaktis. Matrika Shakti means little mothers. They're little mothers. It means, and it refers specifically to the power of words to create reality. The power of words to create reality. The mind's doing that all the time. It creates, something comes up, it identifies with it. I'm happy. Oh yeah, I'm really happy. Oh, it's creating a reality. Oh, I'm so sad. Oh no. And I become sadness. It's very different than, sadness is arising. Oh, happiness is arising. Those are just arising qualities in body and mind. They're not the infinite joy, the boundless ananda, rapturous ecstasy that is the nature of being. These are the transient forms of pleasure and pain that the body knows, the mind knows, identifies with, and is caught in them for whatever length of time they stay around and whatever length of time the mind keeps entertaining them. So the sadhana practices, the meditation practices of coming back to mantra over and over and over again in meditative practice throughout the day. Because why do we want to know the infinitude of being just for 20 minutes, a half an hour, or whatever might be your meditation time? No, the state of meditation is continuous. The state of knowing that is the state of meditation. It's continuous. Our ordinary states of mind, waking state, dream state, deep sleep state, they're discontinuous. And if you're in one, you're not in the other. The state of meditation subsumes and transcends them. It's the luminous quality of consciousness itself that is that state. It's the luminous quality of consciousness itself that illumines this moment, everything you're experiencing, from whatever you're seeing, whatever you're hearing, whatever's around you, the luminous quality of consciousness that comes radiant from your infinite being is always there. It illuminates the waking state, so we get to know what's this instrument made up of senses, made up of seeming solid body, even though physics will tell us it's not. 99.999% empty space, and the little bit that's there is just energy. I mean, if we want to deal with reality, physics will tell you that's just the reality on a physical level. The mind's not bothered by that. It projects solidity. It projects continuity that doesn't exist, inhabits it. So when we're starting to see throughout the day, make use of mantra, make use of remembering, this is all a dance of that energy, even on a physical level, even on the level of separation that my mind is in, that's still a product of consciousness itself. Let me use mantra to try and then inform it with the infinitude of being simultaneously. See, the mind is an either-or instrument. It keeps either thinking, well, I'm either stuck here or I'm going to disappear into this other thing, and how functional that is going to be. No, that's not it. That's the limitation of mind again, projecting itself onto reality. You are all. You are all here and now. You're the fullness of the infinitude of being, consciousness, bliss, Satchidananda, as the yogis would call it, and the form of mind, body, that arose out of, this intersection of constant, of unimaginable complexity of dynamics, karmas, intentions, consciousness, all these things that have gotten bound up, caught up, created the experience that we call who I am here and now. The meditative practice and paradigm is inviting us to see that from an entirely different perspective, an inconceivably different perspective, an unimaginably different perspective. It's why in the end of the Heart Sutra, the Buddha goes, gate, gate, parasamgate, bodhisvaha, gone, beyond, fully beyond. Hail the goer, the bodhisattva. That's you, the one who comes to realize this. What are you going beyond? All the forms that you were identified with. That's why the Heart Sutra starts out with him, Avalokiteshvara, coursing through deep prajna paramita. This profound, transcendent wisdom consciousness that allowed him to see all forms are empty of essential eternal nature. They're all just coming and going, along with the comings and goings of identification, disidentification, avoidance, attraction, all that stuff. To know the truth of who we are, to go beyond it all. Gate, parasamgate, bodhisvaha. How do we go beyond? In stillness. Stillness is the source of mantra. Stillness that is pure, radiant, field, infinite consciousness. And none of those words apply. Beyond all of that. It begins this throb. It's called a spanda, the throb. It's like a wave appearing in the ocean. That's the initial surge of mantra arising. And then it'll rise to, it takes more and more form, still just made of the energy of consciousness, nothing solid here, but it's starting to arise till it becomes perceptible by this kind of instrument. Om becomes perceptible. Om Namah Shivaya becomes perceptible. Om Kali Ma becomes perceptible. Om Mani Padme Hum becomes perceptible. Om Tere Tu Tere Tore Soha Ma Tara. It gives us our form as mantra so we can know the fullness of that boundless, compassionate, empowered consciousness that wants to set all beings free, that hears the cries of suffering of all beings and leaps forward to meet that. That's our nature. That's what's in the mantra, the reminder, more than a reminder, the invocation, the consciousness itself. If we enter the vehicle of mantra, we're identified with the vehicle of mind and body. That is what shapes our entire experience. When we enter the vehicle of mantra, we become identified with the Shakti, the power, the consciousness. I am that. I am this throb of the infinite. I am the auspicious one. I am Ma Kali, another great name of Shakti. Kali, Ma Kali, the one who creates, destroys, removes obstacles. That consciousness, that's my nature. That's the truth of who I am. That's how we inhabit the vehicle of mantra. That's the same way we inhabited the vehicle of this mind and body. We just don't remember it. We were born still trailing clouds of glory, our awareness of having come from the infinite. And then what happens? The programming. Oh, you're my son, you're going to be this. You're my daughter, you can be that. You're a girl, you can't do this, you can't do that. You're a boy, you can't. All these layers upon layers upon layers of conditioning that we identify. Oh, yes, that's true. I am that. I am this body. I am this role. I'm just a kid, or I'm just a student. I'm just a spouse. I'm just a... We are constantly saying, I am something or other. That's what puts us in that vehicle. So we start to use the same matrika Shakti, the same power of words to create reality. Say, no, I am the infinite. I am the one. Ah, hum. Om Kali Ma. Om Kali Ma. I am the boundless consciousness that creates it all, sustains it all, destroys it all, delights in it all. Om Kali Ma. Om Kali Ma. That's the truth of who we are. That's what the practices invite us to inhabit fully throughout the day. We keep coming back to it because it's there. The consciousness never left. We leave that unitive consciousness, that state, to identify with the mind, identify with the body, identify with the roles it has to accomplish, the to-do list it wakes up with, all that stuff. You can see, you start to see, oh, look at that. All these thoughts, they have the seed of a limited me, a limited identity as a part of them. I want to let go of that. It'll be there. It functions in the relative world. That's okay. We're not trying to destroy the functioning of the mind and body. We're trying to add, have it illuminated by the infinitude of being that holds it all, illuminates it with that awareness of what it truly is and what its source is. That's what we come home to. That's what we then can inhabit. That's what we can walk into the world, reducing our own suffering and reducing the suffering of all beings. Because when we're identified with limitations, we lack this, we want that. The more a person is identified with limitations, the more they hunger and become ravenously hunger for power, for control, for domination, for exploitation. That's what we see unfolding. This absolute state of ignorance and the painful lack and emptiness it creates that then people try to fill in ways that will never fill it, never assuage it. because it's only filled by true knowing. So only the mystics get it. Then, what do they need? Just enough to take care of their body, fulfill their dharma, be able to help others. Our needs are very simple. When we get rid of that ignorance that gives birth to all lack, want, and needs of the ordinary mind, then the needs are very simple, very easily met. Then we can all flourish together. There's enough to take care of us all and beyond. So that's why we practice, to know that, to walk it into the world, to help free ourselves and all beings from this suffering. And so we practice, we contemplate, we come to understand. We practice understanding, even when we sit to meditate. Oh, look at that thought. The thought arises. I identify with the thought. I become the thought. Then it comes to another thought. Oh, that's right. I'm meditating. Let me let it go. Let me come back to Om Kalima. Om Kalima. Let me go. Wait a minute. I am the boundless consciousness. I am the great mother that holds it all, can set all beings free. Om Kalima. Let me identify with that. Let me come to rest in that. Till even the mind and what it's attempting to do winds up dissolving. Because that's just the training wheels for the mind. The actual experience is born of your own self, because you already have that innate capacity. We get the mind and identification with the mind out of the way. The fullness of being stands revealed. It's self-revealing. It's continuous. It's never been absent. We experience the absence of it because we identify with the limitation. Let go of that continuously, ultimately, permanently. Then we live in that state, a state of grace that empowers us to help others truly get free. So we're going to chant now for a few minutes, and we're going to chant the great mantra, Om Kalima, Om Kalima, Om Kalima. This throb of the infinite. And just becoming absorbed in that, with the awareness, I am that. I am the mantra, I'm the repeater of the mantra, I'm the source of the mantra. I'm the consciousness that's beyond any form, including any form of mantra. I am all that is, all forms and no forms, the transcendent and the immanent. All is the truth of who you are and who you've always been. We want to come home to that knowing. Come home to the truth of what your nature is. Om Kalima, Om Kalima. So chant for a few minutes and then just sit in the stillness and just watch. Watch the play of Shakti. Everything that's arising and subsiding in that field of consciousness, like sparks arising in the night sky of a bonfire and disappearing. Those are your thoughts, just the play of Shakti. Don't get involved. Oh, that looks like this. Oh, I think that's that. No. You're just watching. Everything's arising, everything's subsiding. Just get free enough to watch. Om Kalima. Shri Kali Devi ki jai. Kali Watching the mind, repeating mantra. Watching the mind, remember, I am. I'm a throb of the infinite. Om Kalima, Om Kalima. Keep coming home to that. Rest in that. We end with this prayer. And may all our practices truly benefit everyone. And may all beings know complete freedom from suffering. Namaste. Even when we wish that for all others, there are no others. We're wishing it for ourselves. We are all that is. That's what we come to know. We want to set all beings free as our own self, because we can't be free as all beings are free. So we dedicate our practices, all our practices. For yogi, that's every breath, that's every waking moment, that's every sleeping moment. We come to that dedication, that continuous practice. If we're not engaged in continuous practice, then what are we engaged in? The old practice of forgetting, the old practice of not knowing, the old practice of being identified with ignorance, the old practice of then chasing after all the lacks and wants and needs that arises out of not knowing the fullness, the infinitude of being. And we practice all the time. Coming home to the fullness of being, the fullness of that joy, the fullness of that compassion, the fullness of that strength, that fullness of steadiness, the unshakable equanimity that we can know, that we can then face the world with, because we see beyond the fluctuations that are all just various forms of ignorance manifesting suffering. See through that, and the way becomes clear. Stay rooted in the truth of who you are. Stay radiant in the truth of who you are. The radiance of love, the radiance of compassion, the radiance of kindness. So I want to thank you for being ones doing that, for coming here this evening. There's 10,000 other things you might have been doing. But to engage in practice, to go beyond the ordinary mind, so we can come to know the fullness. And out of that fullness comes a generosity. We're so full. And it's a fullness that is never diminished. We give it all away and we're still full. That's what we're called to do. To know that. To know that fullness. To give it all away. To keep giving it. So all can be full. All can know. So thank you. In all the ways you endeavor to know that, to live that, to experience that. Through study, through practice, through mantra, through yoga, through karma yoga, through selflessly serving others. These are all the path. And then, once we know it, we just keep doing that because it's a reflection of that state of absolute knowing and generosity. So thank you. Thank you for coming this evening, bringing the fullness of your being, bringing the strength of your practice, sharing it with everyone here in this unified field of consciousness. It's only identification with a physical form that creates separation. Dissolve that and then we're all one. There's no distance, no difference. How can we harm another? So thank you. Thank you for the many ways you help support Anand Kara through sharing our program, sharing our videos, sharing the e-newsletter, through the donations that help us to continue to make these programs and resources available online and on our website. So thank you for your generosity. It's a practice of generosity, of giving. So give to all the different ways that you support groups doing good in the world. It's all that practice, generosity. So once again, with all my love, with all my heart, I thank you for being you and sharing yourself with this world. I look forward to seeing you the next time we get together.